I create Neck Melita, and this is my channel, The Midnight Librarian, and today I will be talking about my first book haul of 2024. So I'm a little excited that I didn't have to film this until March 1st. I think last year it was a February. My first book haul was in February. Not to say that I like missed the mark by too much. It is March 1st. So, but I think this is a very like tame book haul in my opinion. If you don't know, I've been trying to get a wrangle on my budget recently within the last year, just because planning a wedding, also like just need to I just want to feel secure, but I also like have books piled up behind me that I still need to get to and need to read. Things are getting just expensive. Groceries, food, books, groceries, gas, books, whatever. But with that in mind, let's go ahead and just jump into the books that I am hauling today. The first one that I got for 2024 is a reference book. So if you haven't watched my New Year vlog, which I'm really proud of, you should go check it out. I loved how that turned out. His dad and I ended up going out, just walking around, not necessarily seeking mushrooms, but stumbling across them. So there's a lot of B-roll of that, and I just got more curious about mushrooms. I've always been curious of them. I can't say I'm the biggest fan eating them, but I have only tried a couple variants, and mostly it's the button mushrooms that you get from a grocery store. I want to try others. I am neither Brad or I are experienced in foraging for mushrooms, and wouldn't necessarily be confident if we did stumble across some that we were pretty sure we recognized as edible. But I also love mushrooms as a plant, as a kingdom, in terms of like a life category, I guess. I just find their whole structure very interesting. It's obviously a different thing comparatively to animals or flora. Fungi is its own class, and I absolutely love it. It's very unique, and so I've done a lot of work, or some work in fungal art within my art, and I just wanted this reference book as like a helpful guide, not only within us kind of foraging, not necessarily, or like just walking around, just to enhance our knowledge, but just as a reference for illustration as well. And that is Mushrooms of the Redwood Coast, a comprehensive guide to fungi of coastal Northern California by Noah Siegel and Christian Schwartz. This is a reference book for sure. You will never see this on a TBR. It is going to be on a specific shelf that I have for reference books that I like to pull down and just kind of peruse through every now and then. It is a good floppy. I will also never be taking this out into the field. We will use online field guides for that if there is service. But otherwise, I'm pretty excited just to kind of like peruse this every now and then, whether I feel inspired by art or because I feel inspired to get to know some of the local fungi that we have in the area. So there's that. Next, I ordered this with the mushroom book, and I believe they were both from bookshop.org. And that is The Atlas of Us by Kristen Dwyer. This is a young adult release, I believe, that was published in January of 2024. It was like the one pre-order I allowed myself to get in the month of January. Don't mind my cat, she was just fed. She's being dramatic. I have yet to put it on a TBR yet, but I do feel like it's gonna be one that either I put on soon or like closer to the summer season. We'll see though, because I'm currently listening to Trail of the Lost, which is about the Pacific Crest Trail. And so this one, The Atlas of Us, is following Atlas, who has gotten into some trouble, and her last chance is to basically help rehab trails in the Sierras. She's on this trail rehabbing with others. They can't use their real names. I assume they use trail names, so her name is now Maps, and with 4 other teenagers, she's finding that she's not lying to them like she would in her real life. It's her walls that she puts up to protect herself, but she's not doing that with these 4 strangers, and in fact by the end of the trail gets ever nearer, as does her programming. Atlas is realizing that these strangers probably know her better than anyone else ever could. So I'm very curious about it. I am a little hesitant. I did try to read like a chapter of this at one point and just felt like it was a bit more drama than it was about, you know, the Sierras, but that's fine too. I think it'll be still really interesting, and I really like the cover style. I smell smoke with this. I smell the outdoors. Right now we're dealing with like a winter storm, so this will either Trail of Lost will get me wanting to read more outdoorsy things, or I'm just gonna want to like enjoy this as I'm outdoors in nice weather. So we'll see where that ends up. But next, I ordered this book. It was released in February, and it was for my February TBR, but I wasn't able to get it on there. You might have seen it in my February TBR as well as my March TBR, because I am rolling it over, and that is The Fox Wife by Yang-Shi Chu. This is the third book I believe Yang-Shi Chu has published. I read her other two, Ghost Bride and The Night Tiger. I loved Ghost Bride. I thought it was really well done, and really atmospheric. This one we are set in Manchuria in 1908, and we are following a detective who is needing to figure out a dead woman's identity, who is believed to have died because of the fox gods, I believe. Yes. Who is believed to change into attractive men and women to lure people to their deaths. And the detective has always been very intrigued by the fox gods, but they've always been out of reach until now. So yeah, this was my anticipated pick for one of my anticipated picks for February. This is the physical one that I wanted to get. I did get an audiobook as well, but I don't tend to haul my audiobooks just because I think that'd be overwhelming, and it's hard for me to remind myself of those because it's not a physical thing. So who knows? Okay, but yeah, I am really excited about this. There is a map, so yeah, obviously I'm excited. It was an anticipated read, but yeah, it was also from bookshop.org as a pre-order. Next, I ended up stumbling across I don't know if this is middle grade, I think it's middle grade, through Libro actually, and decided I wanted it as a physical copy as opposed to an audiobook, and that is The Curse of Eelgrass Bog. This cover is absolutely gorgeous, but I will say that the title bugs the heck out of me, because it feels like it should be The Curse of the Eelgrass Bog, not Curse of the Curse of Eelgrass Bog. The cover also bugs the hell out of Brad, because none of this is eelgrass. And even the fish that are depicted on the cover are not fish that would be living in eelgrass. So I was slightly bugged by it, because I'm like, none of that looks like eelgrass. But Brad immediately looked at it and was picking the cover apart and was just like, get rid of it. I want you to write a letter to whoever was in charge of this cover and give them a piece of my mind. But I also just really enjoy this cover. I also really enjoy the naked cover just because it's this like pastel green. But I don't remember what this is about, so let's go find out. Nothing about Cass Pedrock's life is normal. Not her home. She lives in her family's unnatural history museum. Not her interests, hunting for megafauna fossils and skeletons. And not her best friend, a talking demon's head in a jar named Shrunken Jim. But things get even stranger than usual when Cass meets Lilu Starling, the new girl in town. Lilu comes to Cass for help breaking a mysterious curse, and the only clue she has leads straight into the center of Eelgrass Bog. Everyone knows the bog is full of witches, demons, and possibly worse, but Cass and Lilu are determined not to let that stop them. As they investigate the mystery and uncover long-buried secrets, Cass begins to realize that the curse might hit closer to home than she'd ever expected. This is just a cool cover. So despite it like not quite fitting what Brad and I think it should be, it's still a cool cover. So, and who's illustrating? The design is by Alex Campbell. I think it'll be fun. So next, I have 3 books that I got up in Oregon. We did go to Oregon again this year for our annual anniversary trip, and I stopped by the same bookstore that I did last year, and that's Bob's Beach Books. I believe they do have an online presence as well, but I just love going in there. We did find another bookstore too. Hopefully that blog will be out shortly, so if you will see a repeat as well. So my apologies, but we did find another bookstore as well within like the there's like a shopping center, and there was a bookstore there, but it was like a warehouse oversupply, if that makes sense. Like it basically, there was too much in the warehouse, and so they sell it in that bookstore. And it just, I don't know, there was Bob's Beach Books, it's overcrowded, it's cluttered, it's lovely, it's comforting, and there's constantly like books kind of just set around everywhere that don't quite make sense, but they have, it's, I think, their way of going, yes, pick this one, as well, with little notes from their employees going like with employee recommendations. And I absolutely love it. There's a there's a personal touch to it. This one in the shopping center was just very like, yeah, it was organized, but it was like all backlist books that I kind of had heard of before. They only had like 2 circle tables that had newer books, but they all had like warehouse on a sticker with their price tag. I don't know, it just felt very cold. The person that was manning it was like not very personable. The whole thing just felt like it was for profit. So I didn't buy anything from there. I went to Bob's Beach Books and like bought 3 things. So the first I found was The Briar Book of the Dead by A.J. Slatter. I have never heard of this before, and that's one thing that I love about Bob's Beach Books, and one thing about going to stores like this is that I always want to find something that I hadn't heard of before that they kind of sell me on. But another cover that is absolutely stunning. This is following Ellie Briar, who is the first non-witch to be born in her family for generations. When her grandmother dies suddenly, Ellie's cousin Audra rises to the position of Briar Witch, ruling over the town of Silverton and propelling Ellie into her new role as a steward. As she navigates fresh challenges, and an unexpected new ability to see and speak to the dead leads to uncover sinister family secrets, stories of burnings, lost grimoires, and evil spells. She is forced to decide who to trust as a devastating plot threatens to destroy everything the Briar Witches have sacrificed so much to build. I think this will be really fun. I'm not sure when I'm going to read any of these books, but I'm real excited for this as a potential read. So. And much like last year, I allowed myself 1 fiction book, which was the Briar book, and then 2 non-fictions. I forgot what I got last year. Oh, no, I remember now. Okay. 2 non-fictions, one that can be about anything I want it to be, and that's the next one, and that is Plums for Months, Memories of a Wonder-Filled Neurodivergent Childhood by Zahi Cox. This a memoir of sorts. As a neurodivergent child in a 100-year-old house, Zahi Cox collects grammar books, secondhand toys, and sightings of feral cats. She dances and cartwheels through a self-discovery and doubt, guided by her big sister and their devoted single mother through short essays that evokes the abundant imagination of childhood. Plums for Months explores the challenges of growing up mixed race and low income on the outskirts of Portland, Oregon. So that's definitely one thing that I do require from at least one of the nonfiction books, is that it is about or from Oregon. I think last time it was Coast Range, which could potentially be up through Washington and as far south as Northern California. But I still, Plums for Months sounded really interesting. My thing though is that these don't look like plums to me. They look like either blueberries or huckleberries. Either way though, I thought this would be really interesting, particularly because it is a BIPOC, non-neurotypical author. So I thought that would be interesting. I'll go in. The next one, I actually wasn't expecting to get. Not that I really knew anything about it, but it's just like, this is what I love about bookstores, is like the happen chance of stumbling across a title and going, what is that? And so the last book that I got from Bob's Beach Books was Cheese War, A Conflict and Courage in Tillamook County, Oregon, by Marilyn Milne and Linda Kirk. So I literally just like saw the spine of this and was like, what's this about cheese wars? We've been watching a lot of like the Food That Built America on Discovery Plus, and it's been really interesting to learn about these conflicts, not only by people but by companies, of like who did it first and who's trying to be top dog or whatever like that. The drama. So with this one, I was really curious. So this is in the 1960s. The dairy farmers of Tillamook County, Oregon were at war as the regional dairy industry shifted from small local factories to larger consolidated factories, and as profit margins for milk and cheese collapsed, farmers found themselves in a financial crisis that fueled multiple disputes. The ensuing cheese war included lies and secrets, as well as spies, high emotion, and a shoving match, and even a death threat. Exacerbated by a complex web of family and business relationships, the cheese war raged for the better part of a decade across board meetings, courtrooms, and the community. While largely unknown outside Tillamook County, the dispute was so divisive that some families remain fractured today. So actually, sisters Marilyn Milne and Linda Kirk saw how the cheese war absorbed the parents, and as adults they set out to learn the real story. They have integrated their research with tales of their experience as farm kids living through the all-consuming fight as the world becomes ever more interested in the food supply chains and ethical consumptions. Cheese War tells the story of the very human factors behind one of Oregon's best known brands. So we did visit the cheese factory last year in Tillamook. I'm not the biggest fan of plain cheese. I don't like it, but I don't mind it when it's mixed in with other things. Tillamook is one of the brands that I do try to buy if I can when doing any kind of cooking with cheese. I do enjoy it, and the fact that it's a Oregon brand, I don't know, I just enjoy it, okay? So I'm very curious about this and the history of it, so I think that'll be fun. Okay, last 3 books. The next 2 were actually gifted to me. The first I'm currently reading for my March TBR, and that is Carbon Sovereignty, Coal Development, and Energy Transition in the Navajo Nation by Andrew Curley. I am a part of a book circle at the university that I work at, and we are currently reading this. So I did start it a little early before March, but I kind of need to. We have a weekly meeting, and so our first meeting was this last week, and we had to get through chapter 1. I'm still on the introduction, but it's not. We were warned that it was going to be a bit academic comparably to like other book circle picks. This is my first book circle, but I have read their previous picks that they were comparing to Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer and Fresh Banana Leaves by Jessica Hernandez. Both of those I really enjoyed, and I was able to consume through able to consume audibly, so that was really nice in terms of accessibility. This one, as they warned, is a bit more academic, and there is no audiobook for it, so I find that I can't get distracted, otherwise I have to reread. I definitely have to focus in on what I'm reading. The slightest little like deviation of my brain, I lose it. I'm not entirely sure. So far, like I said, I'm only in the introduction, and I've highlighted a couple passages that I've really enjoyed. So and I found that with this, even though it is a bit more academic, it's not so bad as like an academic like article or peer-reviewed paper. It's just it takes a little more focus than what a typical book would need me to. So it's not something that I read before bed, because I don't want to exert that much mental focus on something like that before bed. But it is something that I do have to set aside time and like kind of just put it on my headphones and just kind of like be in a zone for. So, so, and the book circle was kind enough to get copies for everyone who is participating, so I'm really excited to be able to get through this and talk to folks who are also reading it. This first meeting has me really excited about the book circle as a whole, because this last meeting that we actually had guest speakers from one of the local tribes in the area that also they've read this book as well, and were able to compare and contrast some of the issues that they're talking about in this book to local issues that we're having in terms of carbon sovereignty and what that means to us. It's a lot. It has me thinking a bunch, and it has me talking about it a bunch, so I'm really excited for it to be able to talk to others about it as well. The next book was also gifted to me by the publisher, so thank you so much to Knopf, which is, I believe, an imprint of Penguin Random House, but that is Tommy Orange's Wandering Stars. This is a finished copy. It is out now, so I highly suggest it. This is a follow-up to Tommy Orange's There, which admittedly I didn't enjoy as much as others I've seen. There was just... which makes me think I need to reread it just to kind of get in that mindset and remember what I did and didn't like about it, and just to be able to remind myself as well as what happened so that I can go into this, because this is a follow-up. Though I have been told that potentially this could have worked as a standalone as well, like you don't necessarily need to read the first book, but it is highly encouraged. With that, I'm not going to say anything about the synopsis other than that I believe it has to do with the Carlisle Indian Industrial School. So, and then finally, the last book that I have to haul, I actually just got today at my local bookstore. I went to kind of peruse, mostly because I was kind of looking for something for my anticipated horror pick that I got in March, and didn't see anything that really stuck out to me, but did find this in the nonfiction section, because I feel like, of course I did. Like I said, we've been watching a lot of the Food That Built America on Discovery Plus. We've also been I have been really enjoying Tournament of Champions with Guy Fieri. This is one that I do watch pretty religiously on Sundays after I get off work. It's been really fun. So to find this book, I was really kind of excited because I love reading nonfiction foods I'm finding, and I want to read more of them. And this is The Core of an Onion, Peeling the Rarest Common Food, featuring the more than 100 historical recipes by Mark Kurlansky. I have not read anything by Mark Kurlansky, but this one feels like it would be really fun. We do work with onion a lot in terms of like just cooking dinner. We go through a lot of onions, so this one seemed really interesting. And basically, yeah, like Kurlansky follows the onion and how it is readily available in almost every part of the world, and kind of just explores that. So yeah, and the cover is nice. So my battery is blinking at me. That is the haul that I have for you today. Thank you so much for supporting and watching. Have you read any of these? What were your thoughts? Please, no spoilers. Leave your comments down below. Otherwise, if there is an onion prompt or onion emoji, let's go ahead and put that. Otherwise, put your favorite food emoji. And I hope that you are in the mental mindset to enjoy your reading. I will see you in another video very soon. Chew.